Hi, it's Mike Matthews, the host of the longest-running self-produced daily podcast on planet Earth by a guy named Mike in the land of Rootabega. It's the last place on Earth. Café Anyway. It's Mike's Daily Podcast, FF episode 3156, 3156. This story did not make that much news when it hit the internet and the presses, and I guess they don't have really presses so much. There's some press going on, some printing presses printing things, but TV, radio, podcast, news, wherever. Paula Deen, she abruptly closed her Georgia restaurant, The Lady and Sons. I went there once to see that. I'm sorry, I just saw the headline. Rachel Ray responds to Valerie Bertinelli's Food Network comments. Gotta move forward, she said. Right. I don't even know what that is, but I will tell you I have two interesting connections to both of those ladies. One of them is that my dad used to live just down the street from Valerie Bertinelli. This was back in the early O's. She had moved up to this particular area of Studio City that my dad was living in. And he said that one time Eddie Van Halen had come to the house, to Valerie's house. I think they had long been divorced. But he was driving out, heading down the road, and there's an old lady that lived near my dad who was trying to bring the trash out to the curb. And he saw her doing that and stopped the car, got out and helped her. And this old lady knew my dad and said, "Oh, you got a nice young man named Eddie Van Halen that helped move my garbage for me." And my dad didn't really know who that was. So he told me the story. I said, "What?" And one time after my dad had passed away, I was at his house and I was married at the time, and my in-laws had brought their huge, weird boxer pit bull mastiff mix. His name was Rudy. And Rudy was just running around and actually left my dad's house, went down the road, and went to Valerie Bertinelli's house. Why not? I guess he was a fan of One Day at a Time. And I remember the other weird connection I have to One Day at a Time is Bonnie Franklin. I saw her at the Sherman Oaks Galleria back when that existed. And that every woman on the planet now talks like all the Valley girls, the way they sounded at the Sherman Oaks Galleria. So that was ground zero for where all of our accents came from since then, or in the female world, it seems. Everyone's talking with, "Oh my God." That's not a Valley girl, Valerie Bertinelli accent. No. So Rachel Ray, I have a connection to because and I met, by the way, Valerie Bertinelli's second husband. He brought Rudy back to my dad's house and talked to me and the in-laws and got to meet him before Valerie Bertinelli married him, and then they have since gotten divorced. But Rachel Ray, her husband used to be in a rock band called The Cringe, and I knew somebody who was a record promoter back when I was in the music radio biz, and he gave me a t-shirt that was one of The Cringe's t-shirts. They had looked like an astronaut carrying a lunchbox. That was their logo, The Cringe band. And I don't know if Rachel Ray is still married to this guy. But, and apparently he was also friends, this record label fella, record promoter. He was friends with Rachel and got her to sign a cookbook for me. So I do have a cookbook autographed to, well, it's not to me. Technically it's me, but it's my old radio name when I used to go by Matt Michaels. So she signed that to me and my then wife. So I'm no longer married and I no longer use that radio name. So I don't know if it's even really worth talking about that book, but I have it. And I'm not the biggest fan of that cookbook. I have other cookbooks that I like big pictures. I like big writing. Jerry Seinfeld's wife did a cookbook that I was able to somewhat understand, but she likes to puree everything. So I wasn't a big fan of that, but back to another cook by the name of Paula Deen. So, of course, she used to be on the Food Network, and then something controversial. Somebody's sneezing in the background here, if you can hear it at Café Anyway, outside of Café Anyway. So, Gesundheit, there. It's a little German for you. But the former Food Network star Paula Deen closed 2 of her restaurants in Savannah, Georgia. She rose to fame with her Southern charm and down-home cooking, but was axed from the cooking channel amid a racism scandal. That was over 10 years ago. But she kept her restaurant, The Lady and Sons, open. And I know a lot of YouTubers used to go there and go, oh, look, I'm at Paula Deen's place. And they were, hey, we're in the South. And Savannah is a beautiful place. I went there in 2009. And it was around this time of year, and it was super humid, hot. Oh, but it was beautiful. Just had to really hydrate. Now, more than a decade later, she posted an abrupt note August 1st on the Southern Style Eatery's social media pages announcing a closure along with her shop, The Chicken Box. And that's only been open for about 3 years. Hey, y'all, my sons and I made the heartfelt decision that Thursday, July 31st was the last day of service for The Lady and Sons and The Chicken Box. Thank you for all the great memories, she said, and for your loyalty over the past 36 years. The family matriarch owned and operated the restaurants with her sons, Jamie and Bobby Deen. The family said they will instead focus on their 4 remaining restaurants. They got a Paula Deen's Family Kitchen in Pigeon Forge, that's in Tennessee, as well as Myrtle Beach in South Carolina. And there's one in Nashville, Tennessee. Oh, and there's also one in Branson, Missouri. And they are going to visit there. I guess they were there on August 8th. In a note signed Love and Best Wishes by the trio, she added that we have endless love and gratitude for every customer who has walked through our doors, and we are equally grateful to our incredible staff, past and present, whose hard work, care, and hospitality made the businesses, and we will be sending out checks to everyone who died of heart disease because of our food. Oh, no, wait, she didn't say that last sentence, but that would have been nice. She said, Savannah will always be our home, and we'll always be here to support our wonderful community. Now y'all lose weight. Oh, wait, she didn't say that last part either. I don't think you can actually lose weight at all eating her food. There's so much butter in it. But did you know it was all the way back in 2002 that they began on the Food Network airing her show, which was called Paula's Home Cooking. And then they added another show called Paula's Best Dishes in 2008, among other programs later on, and it catapulted her to legendary Southern cooking status with the success of her Food Network shows, as well as her Georgia restaurants, and a slew of cookbooks, homeware, and endorsement deals. And then there was the scandal in 2013. I won't go into that too much, but then she lost a lot of weight. And she looked really strange. I wonder if she got the stomach staple, because this is before Ozempic and Wegovy and all that. And I have a story about all that on the last podcast, all those diet pills and whatnot that you can listen to, and just go back to the last one. But this one is episode 3156, 3156, and time for me to open the door for y'all. Café Anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I'm Mike Matthews, and this is FF episode 3156, 3156. My computer just did a massive update of some sort. Mike's Daily Podcast. I know you don't find that fascinating, but it is kind of fascinating because what's happening is at the end of the month, actually next month, I think they're going to have you get rid of Windows 10 support completely. Ooh. So that's right. Mike's Daily Podcast. Windows 10 is going bye, but well, it's going to still exist, but you won't be able to get any updates. So Mike's that's exciting. Daily. So Podcast. In preparation for that, having a Windows 10 computer, it's doing all kinds of updates and whatnots just to get ready for that, I am thinking. And meanwhile, Microsoft is going, oh, we moved Copilot. We moved Copilot. Now, if you use Edge or whatever they're calling their browser, hey, we've moved Copilot, our little AI thing that's trying to be like ChatGPT. We moved it over to the far right-hand corner. Although on the screen it said, we've moved it to the right. And I thought, oh, so it's more of a Trump fan now. It's Copilot's gone mega. The AI's gone mega for the Microsoft. So, well, that all happened, and my computer starts moving really slow because it runs on all that. Meanwhile, Apple's got all this debuting of this and that and the other thing. So I'm sure Microsoft is trying to compete as they are bitter rivals. So, yes, there was some iPhone 17 and some other interesting thing that you like, the earbuds. It's become the world that Douglas Adams foresaw in his Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. In that, they would stick a little fish in their ears called a babblefish, and it would interpret everything it heard, all the different languages around the universe.
And here's today's podcast picture.
When you're hanging out at the restaurant at the end of the universe, and you're hearing people talking in different languages, this little fish interpreted it all using some kind of brainwaves. The thing about that book, it's so funny, and Douglas did everything he could to detail to you exactly what he was seeing in his mind's eye. Oftentimes, he would do these projects last minute. He said, a famous quote of his is, I love the sound of deadlines. I love the sound they make as they whoosh on by. And the late great Basil the Boxer said, Mike, you said that saying wrong, but it's something similar to that, I paraphrase. But the podcast picture is of a place that Basil and I went to once long ago. Actually, I don't think we ever went to this pier together, but it's this beautiful pier in Pacifica. See a picture of that. I was there recently. Mike'sDailyPodcast.com and all the other past podcast pictures and past podcasts. And everything having to do with this podcast is at Mike'sDailyPodcast.com. So you might be saying to yourself, Mike, I'm stuck in my apartment. I'm stuck in my house. I'm stuck. Why is nobody moving? Only 3% of homeowners say...
Mike Matthews is going to come in with more encouragement for you.
Oh, thank you. Yes, here's my encouragement for you. Go ahead and email me, mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. I love to hear from you. Or you can call me at 510-228-4640. I can never remember that number correctly. Did I give out the right number? 228-4640. 510 area code. Yes, I'm originating from Podcastro Valley. That's our area code. Podcastro Valley, somewhere in the land of Ameritopica, and we are here at Café Anyway, at the last place on earth. So, yes, call me at those numbers too. I'll try and give you some encouragement, and you can give me your thoughts about things like Apple putting a babblefish in our ears. That's right. Those earbuds are so ugly, like a little straw little white straw sticking out of your ear. It's like a little cigarette sticking out of your ear. Somebody put out a cigarette in your ear, which they should never do because that would definitely make you deaf. But it would, or hurt at least. They now interpret languages for you. It's called something language real-time interpretation, or they didn't say babblefish though, but we all know what they were saying. But only 3% of homeowners said that they'd be comfortable selling their homes this year. Only 3% out of all the homeowners
you almost had it.
Surveyed.
You gotta be quicker than that.
In this survey, that you gotta be quicker than that. Because the interest rate on their mortgage is so low. 2/3 of outstanding mortgages in the States have a rate below 4%. I know somebody on my block who's trying to sell his house, and it has been on the market now for several months. I think he started back in the spring. So I don't know if that's why he hasn't sold it yet, because people just aren't looking, people aren't moving. I dunno, he said in a British accent, or tried to anyway.
What's going on? I just saw on the news that you're thinking about leaving. What happened?
I'll tell you what happened. I'm not leaving because the interest rate's low. That's what happened. No, I'm sticking around. Every time I get fed up with the Bay Area, something makes me want to stick around. It's like a moth to the flame. It's going to burn me into a puff of smoke. This Bay Area. Oh, as a motorcycle goes flying by outside of Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley. Would I love to maybe move somewhere someday to a new location? Sure. Maybe somewhere, or maybe not somewhere where people say these things.
I'm going to weaponize my pronouns. What are pronouns?
Speaking of which, Nintendo, I guess because that was a kid, and kids like to play Nintendos. That's why I was speaking of that. Speaking of Switch, Nintendo Switch 2, selling at more than twice the pace of the original Nintendo, began selling that about a month ago. They sold more than 5.8 million Switch 2 consoles. Oh, actually back in April. From April to the June quarter. And this is where I bid my people watching on video goodbye, which you can find a link to where to watch the video at mikesdailypodcast.com. It's also facebook.com/mikesdailypodcast. The Facebook page. But let's see. Nintendo expects to sell 15 million Switch 2s and 45 million games this year. Now, there are millennials out there. Used to be just Gen Xers, but now the millennials are getting to be known as dinks. I know in some countries that's a bad word, but that stands for dual income with no kids. They have, millennial dinks have a 120,000 net worth advantage. They have a net worth. Sorry to all you parents out there. And let's go back quickly to the podcast yesterday where I had heard that interesting Catholic radio presenter, radio host. And she was talking about how she was waiting in line, which I still don't know where she was waiting in line at. But somebody turned around and saw her with the baby, some young kid, and said, "Hey, are those expensive?" Looking at her baby. And she said, "No, every baby comes with a loaf of bread." I told that story to my lovely lady friend this morning, and she looked at me and said, "What?" And then I said it to Rob Black. Oh, and he says something here.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't like that sound effect.
No.
That's the one I don't like.
Wow, wow, wow.
That's better. That's better.
I told him this story this morning about the woman that said that babies are not expensive. He said no. From age, I forget what it was, 0 to 15, it's going to be at least $350,000. So let's see. This was also from Rob. Dinks have a net worth of $359,000 compared to those married with kids. They have a net worth, those married with kids, of $228,000. Well, at any rate, kids are expensive and babies are expensive. And maybe that just the baby being a baby at that point and that life of that woman, that mom, she has not yet seen all the expenses she will need to pay.
You can use your debit if it's easier. Don't worry, I will cross my eyes so I can't see your secret code.
She might have to use her debit card a few times. Spotify shares jumped after a global price hike announcement. There are only 2 real players in music streaming, with Spotify and not YouTube Music, although they do really well. YouTube does with podcasts, YouTube Music, Google Podcasts. A lot of people don't realize this still, even though this happened over a year ago, that Google Podcasts disappeared and turned into YouTube Music. I don't know how big the YouTube Music app is, but a lot of podcasters, in wanting to still stay with Google, moved their podcasts onto YouTube, which they let you do. They'll take your RSS feed if you're a podcaster.
Who doesn't like cash cows?
Oh, Rob's back again.
How do you do that?
Why just to press a button?
I just said the word cash cow.
And I like cows. And people should be nicer to cows. And if you eat steak, they get their revenge in the end by giving you heart disease. Just keep that in mind. Okay, where were we? Oh, back to the... I sound like Paul McCartney all of a sudden. Don't eat cows. There's a hole in the ozone. Because of that, all the cows with the methane. That's not what... He's got more of a Liverpool accent. I can't do that very well right now. Because I was trying to tell this story about YouTube and try and explain the YouTube music and all this.
There's a Spanish holiday tradition called El Gordo, the fat one.
Why did you just show up and say that? Her name's like Lauren Fryer or something from NPR. And I hear her all the time, and I gotta stop listening to NPR. Actually, I have stopped listening to... The local radio station that carries NPR completely stopped listening to that. I got a couple reasons for that, most of which will make you angry, but I would like to just say I don't listen to them anymore. And I feel quite happy not doing. There's so many other viable news sources that I can find.
It was kind of scary.
But you know what's not kind of scary is using some kind of app on your phone to listen to podcasts. I do download and listen. Well, I don't download, but I play. Because you don't really download podcasts anymore. I guess it's downloaded to a temporary file, but I stream and listen to the NPR Top of the Hour newscast. I do that. So I do listen to a little bit of them. But yes, YouTube is doing... The podcasters that are calling themselves podcasters but are actually doing video shows and doing videos on YouTube, which is a completely different thing. They are... Apparently, if you
I need some turntables, Mike, if you're going to say it like that.
Yes, that with the music and all that. But we're just talking about music, right? Okay, so the audio streaming service raised its subscription prices for Spotify Premium from September in multiple markets, and the shares gained over 7% with that. Spotify implemented price changes for its U.S. plans also in 2023 and 2024. So they're doing it every year. They want a piece of that basket, of that money, of that music listening basket. Meanwhile, I'm sure the next story you hear about podcasting, you will hear something about how YouTube has the most podcasters. But in fact, they have the most video watchers, that some people call themselves podcasters that are just video people doing video shows. They're going on Zoom. They're recording their Zoom calls with someone, having a Zoom chat. And I think most millennials would agree.
Right?
Yeah. They'd say right to all of that. But, you know, before we get to...
I can't make this up.
Madame Rootabega, let us have one more bizarre soundbite.
When I grow up, I want to be obsessed with emotional safety and do workplace sensitivity training all day long.
I feel as if I'm not explaining the whole difference between YouTube and Spotify correctly. Spotify is trying to get a little bit into the video world. I notice if I'm trying to listen to a podcast, sometimes there's video attached to it on Spotify, on the app, which I'm okay. I'm not going to watch this. I'm listening to it while I'm in the car. I'm not looking at the screen on the Spotify app. YouTube, meanwhile, I guess the difference between the YouTube app and the YouTube Music app, here we go, is if you listen to a podcast on YouTube Music, you can have the screen off on your phone. However, as soon, and this, I'm talking about all the free ones. Premium, yeah, I know premium, this and that. The other thing, they subvert all the rules. They forgo all the rules. But with the YouTube regular app, as soon as you turn off the screen, whatever it is you're watching turns off. And I know this because Kevin, who used to be on the podcast occasionally with the segment Addendum with Kevin, he told me, yeah, I listen to your podcast on YouTube, but when the screen goes blank, I stop listening because you stop talking. And to some people, that must be a blessing. Look who's here. Hello, Mega Masters, Madame Rootabega, and I love it when you stop talking. Oh! Do you love it when your YouTube music doesn't turn off because it's still playing because they forego that rule? Yes. Do you like it when the Spotify is showing the videos because they're trying to be like YouTube? Yes. Do you like all these questions about music and podcast apps? No. Okay. Look who else is here. Hello, and this is Bison Bentley. Mike, we was talking to some people that were outside of Café Anyway and discussing how it's all fascinating what people are doing today with the music. Yeah, music. Do you know that? Music, yes. So much music. Get up there, pick up an instrument, and start playing. Will you ever make it to the top of the charts? No. You got to be super, unless you're like 5 years old, then you will make it to the top of the charts because everybody on the top of the charts are super, super young. Back when I was a kid, you'd have all kinds of ages at the top of the charts, but not these days. And people would agree with me, and I would go on, but I might get censored by somebody.
That's enough. Put down the mic.
Like that guy. What do you think about all that? Here's the number to call.
Call Mike at the Café Anyway hotline. Area code 510-228-4640.
And with all things having to do with Mike's Daily Podcast, we go to the main frame and hear from A-Frame. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much for listening to the show and watching the video too, which you can find at mikesdailypodcast.com. And with more on all of that, A-Frame.
What are you, nuts?
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!